And I was like, I don't know what we should talk about. And he's like, why don't you talk about ID syncing? That would bore everybody. But maybe not. This is an AdTech forum. I did meet a couple of you who don't know as much about AdTech, so we're new to the space. Feel free to ask questions. We'll try to keep this to 5 minutes. Is that the rule? Yeah. And then 5 minutes of questions. Okay, so why do we care? Cookie and device growth. Back in 2000, you had 300,000 internet users, you had one device. It was a very straightforward world. There were only a few browsers. Browsers set the cookies. And I'll get to why this is important in a second. Today we have 3 billion internet users, and they each have about two devices, sometimes 3, maybe more. And here this cat has multiple devices. Okay, so device growth is enormous. Everybody knows that. That's great. The third-party requests on websites are almost incomprehensible, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you ever notice a page loading really slow, or how many of you guys have Ghostery installed? Anybody? Yes? So you see all these things loading, you're like, what the hell's going on? This is what ID syncing is all about. And why do we care? It's about monetization. Monetization for the publishers. At the same time, we need to protect the users from data leakage, other things like that. We're going to get into the pros and cons of the different approaches to solving the ID syncing problem. I don't know if it's possible, but... So, what is the problem with that? Each AdTech player has their own proprietary anonymous identifier. Turn, we don't touch any PII. So if I go to a website, we don't know who that user is. It's just an anonymous identifier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the problem is, every other company has their own identifiers, and they have data against these identifiers. And in order for the companies to work together, like Turn and Spot Exchange, we need to do an ID sync, so that Turn ID 1234 is Spot Exchange ABCD. And so we synchronize with these companies, and it's a really important part. The problem is, it causes, the ways to do that is very complex. And here's just a diagram of how there are different players in the AdTech ecosystem. There are bidders, there's ad exchanges, there's users, there's publishers. The thing is, like, the inventory and the flow of users through these pages is touching a lot of different players' hands. And I'll have the Lumascape, of course, towards the end, where you can see all the AdTech players. So the cookie sync process. Here is, like, in its really basic form, the page loads, and the advertiser needs to, the retargeting platform, this is from Crux actually, it's not like a Turn slide, Turn diagram. So what's happening is, there's a bid request, there's cookie syncing between the ad exchange and a player like Turn, and then there's the inventory provider, there's the advertiser, and what's happening is when the page loads, there's a bunch of fires going on, and that's what the Ghostery thing is going on. There's like cookies being set, there's multiple IDs being fired, so that we all know at that time that this user is Spot Exchange ABCD and Turn ID 1234. And there's a lot of people to integrate with and to sync with, and this is the problem. So if we were able to design a better way to sync, there would be better privacy controls for consumers. There could be like a universal opt-out. People who don't want to be tracked, who don't or want to opt out, can just opt out and be opt out across the board, across all the different platforms, all the data that's more data control. You could protect against data leakage. You could relax infrastructure support. Because of all these fires, these pages need to load really fast, and that causes companies that need to have more infrastructure support. And the ramp time. So what often happens is an advertiser might come to a company like Turn and say, hey, I have all these Nordstrom shoppers, I want to advertise against them anonymously, help me do that. And so what we'll do is we'll work with other companies that help to anonymize the IDs that they have, but it takes a while to sync up all these different IDs. And so if we had a universal ID or something like that, it would speed up the ramp time and advertising would be able to parse them faster. The other thing is that there's a lot of large first-party data companies, think Google, Apple, Facebook. People are logging into their platform on all different devices. And so they know with PII that this person is on those different devices. And they can use the data assets they have more easily. So all the other players in the AdTech ecosystem who don't necessarily have the ability to have people log in and store that information, this would help sort of playing field. There's also a cross-device aspect of this. I work on some cross-device projects, so just wanted to mention that there could be some benefits of that. What are our options? Rubicon has a cookie trust, and it's like a co-op. Turns play a part in this, and I can talk to you about it a little later on, but it's their effort to try to have everybody work together to create one identifier. The problem is, it's a cookie and egg problem. You need to get a lot of people participating. You could have an independent third-party company that's just dedicated to mapping. Imagine just like random companies had all these IDs, and then all the other companies would just synchronize with them. There could be a cross-platform browser ID based on login that might be passed through the browser itself. So imagine Mozilla passing the IDs to the different players, or the exchanges pass some kind of major publisher. That's really hard. So I talked really fast because it's really confusing, and there's a lot, but I wanted to get everything into 5 minutes. I think that's all I have. So I know it's my